you fell in love with a married woman, try to be a good person. God will do the rest. Hi, welcome to the tale of Monday, the moon's day. It's the third story from the Iranian book HaftPeykar, or Seven Beauties, from the 12th century. If you want to know what's the base of the story, check this video out, at least the introduction. Sarah here, and on this channel I introduce you to my country, Iran. Well, not that one on the news, another Iran. Before sitting under the green dome and starting the story, do you know what is Monday in other languages? In French, it's called lundi, which refers to lune. In Spanish, it's lunes. Or in German, it's Montag, I guess. Isn't it interesting, this connection between the cultures, and that this book is for 900 years ago and, well, you can't answer, but it is interesting. So on Monday, Bahram the king wore a green robe and went to Nezami, which means the cute fairy. They sat under the green dome and Nezami started her story. Once upon a time, there was a man that everyone loved him. His name was Bosh, and people would call him the pious Bosh. One day he was passing a quiet alley when he saw a woman in niqab. But for a moment, the wind started and the cloth fell from the woman's face. فتنه را باد رهنمون آمد، ماه از ابر سیه برون آمد. بوش کاندید سست شد پایش، تیر یک زخمه دوخت بر جایش. She was so beautiful. لب چو برگ گلی که تر باشد، برگ آن گل پر از شکر باشد. The woman quickly wore her niqab again and hurried out. But Bush was very ashamed of himself, especially when he knew that that woman was married. For a few months, he couldn't help thinking about her. He looked at himself and thought, what are you doing? You're losing your faith. You're ruining your life and afterlife, man. So he decided to go to Mecca to worship at God's house. He prayed a lot and asked God for patience and forgiveness and maybe another beautiful woman. On the way back, he joined a man who happened to be extremely arrogant. When Bush asked his name, he said, I am Malika. And who knows alchemy except for Malika? I know astronomy and medicine. I know magic and sorcery. If there's a famine, I predict it. If a kingdom is gonna fall, I predict it. Ask me whatever you want to know. Okay, and I'm Bush. They passed the deserts with difficulty until they reached a tree. They decided to rest there. But under the tree, they saw a big pottery jar full of water. It was buried in the ground and only its mouth was visible. They were so thirsty that drank as much as water as they could. Then Malika asked, why would someone leave water in the desert? I think one of God's good servants have done this, said Bush. Perhaps they had vowed to quench the pilgrim's thirst. Malika mocked. Who puts water in a hot desert just for the others to drink? You're so old-fashioned. I'm sure the hunters have done it, just to trap animals. Bush said, everyone looks at the world through the mirror of his soul. But Malika didn't understand. He said, I'm gonna bathe in this water. Bush started to say, no, don't do that. Leave the water clean for other passengers. Don't you remember how thirsty we were when we arrived here? How can you pollute the water that has saved your life? But this beautiful speech didn't impress Malika that much, because he had jumped into the water. He looked down trying to see him, but he couldn't. He picked up a tall stick to measure the depth of the water. It was then that he realized that it wasn't a pottery jar. It was a deep well that had drowned Malika. After a while, his corpse was floating on water. Bush buried him and said, this water saved my life and took your life. This is what I wanted to say and you never realized. تو بدان غرقه ای و من رستم که تو شاکر نیی و من هستم. تو که دام بهایمش خواندی چون بهایم به دام درماندی. من به نیکی بدو گمان بردم نیک من نیک بود و جان بردم. Okay man, he's dead. Can you let him go? He decided to find Malika's family and give them Malika's things. But when he picked up his bag, he saw a lot of golden coins in it. He was so poor and hungry and thirsty at that time, but he overcame his greed and headed to the city. Malika's house was like a palace. Bush told the servants that I want to see the lady of this house. He gave all the Malika's stuff to her. The women, like all the women at that time, had a veil on her face. But Bush could notice that she was listening to him, and she knew that her husband was a jerk. She thanked him for delivering everything safely, especially that amount of money. Then she thought, what a nice person he is. Honestly, I'm glad I got rid of Malika. She paused for a moment and then very gently took off her veil. And Bush was like, what? And she was like, what? And Bush passed out at that moment. هوش رفته چو هوش یافته شد سرش از تاب شرم تافته شد. When he recovered, he said, این که بینی نه مهر امروز است دیر باشد که در من این سوز است من تو را دیدم و ز دست شدم می وصلت نخورده مست شدم گرچه یک دم نرفتی از یادم با کسی راز خویش نگشادم. And he said the story of his travel and his prayings, and the woman was like, wow. Yes, they married, and in my opinion, what they forgot to say was a huge thanks to Malika. It all happened because of him. If you like this story, please hit the like button so that more people can watch it. I'm Sarah, and on this channel, I show you my country. Subscribe to my channel if you like to hear the story of Tuesday. Wait, as you know, HaftPeykar is very symbolic, and nothing is meaningless in this book. Do you know what green meant in the story? Tell me in the comments.